morning. Good morning. Thank you. It's going to be hard to find this crowd the first time we've been together in a long time, right? Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Can you hear me if I don't use this? No?
Okay. Thanks. I love the mic. I'm gonna try to keep this to 1 hour and respect your time, so I would love to get started. I will go ahead and tell you on the front end, I wrote all of this and wrote my agenda. Everything was good. I was cruising through the week. I was ready for you guys. And this morning, I was practicing, and it hit me that I have a senior. And I am likely to get a little emotional sometimes today, so I'm gonna apologize on the front end. But I'm gonna do my best. Okay? So we're gonna pray, because that's where I need to start my day. Lord, good morning. It's so fun to see all of these faces here. Father, so many of these faces I have been walking with for a long, long time. We just talked to Frey about St. Francis, and we have been on this journey with our seniors for so many years. And it's such a privilege to have community and brothers and sisters in Christ to raise children with, and so I praise you for that, Lord. I thank you for this school year coming, and we're going to be on campus. Lord, I thank you that you protected this place last year, and we're trusting you to do the same this year. Father, I thank you for these seniors. It's been so fun to watch them grow up, Lord. They were knee-high when they started here, and now they have gifts and talents and dreams and goals, and I'm watching you use them already, and it's such a privilege, Lord. I thank you for the parents that are in this room. They've been good partners along the way, and this senior year is a year of ups and downs, so I pray that you will unite us as parents to encourage our own children and encourage each other's children in the admissions process and in this launch. And, I just thank you that I have this group around me. Lord, I know your plan is perfect. I know that you're sovereign over everything and you are everywhere. Father, I pray for wisdom and discernment for the administration and the teachers as we make decisions this year while we're still dealing with this pandemic that's going on. Father, our goal is to honor and serve you, and so we just pray that you help us do that. And Lord, I ask finally that we just trust you. I think senior year, Lord, is where our trust in you is put to the test, and so I just pray that these seniors will know that you are a faithful God and you are trustworthy. Amen. We lift us all up in the strong name of Jesus. Amen.
Okay, I am a wanderer when I talk, but I have to try to stay right here because of the video camera. So help me. If I move out of the way, tell me to get back up here, okay? I thank you for coming. It's so fun to have all of you in the room. It's seniors. This is it. Here we go, right? I got to be at the rock painting at the end of the year last year where it was like your first senior event. I'm really looking forward to being out there in the parking lot today while you guys paint your spaces and kind of stake your claim for the year. But this is kind of the beginning of a really fun year of lasts. And so I'm excited to be able to walk that journey with you. I have a few things. I'm by no means an expert at this. I have walked through this process once. I'm getting ready to do it a second time. I'm not an expert, but I have learned a lot of things along the way in the role that I am and also as a mom. And so there's just a few things I want to kind of kick the year off by saying to you, and then I'm going to talk to your parents for a few minutes, and then we're going to talk about thesis, and Mr. Kristen is going to talk about the college admissions process for you guys over the next couple of months, and then we're going to wrap it up by talking about and praying about the trip to Italy, which is something to be excited about. And the more I do to prepare for it and get stuff out to you, the more excited I'm getting for you. Okay, so let me start with the seniors. Seniors, this is the year that you've been waiting for. I mean, you've seen the seniors, you've watched the seniors, you've worked towards this, you've put a lot of years in. And maybe some of you are dreading it, maybe some of you are excited about it, but regardless of how you're feeling about it, it is here, right? We are starting on Wednesday, and it is going to be the beginning of all of these milestones and deadlines, and there's lots, you're going to have lots of feels this year. But it is here, and I want you to think about, I want you to take time to think about it. There's so many things that you have to do this year that you can easily just go from task to task to task and never really take time to say, hey, you know what do I want this year to look like? At the end of the year, what do I really, really want? It's just like parenting. You guys haven't done that yet, but everybody else in the room has. And you can get lost in the day-to-day. The sippy cups, preschool, and book bags, and then it's applications, which is where we are now. But really, at the end of the day, what do we want you guys to look like when we launch you? Same thing for you. What do you want this year to look like after we launch? There's a legacy that you're leaving. There's a role model that you're being this year. You're setting a tone for our entire school. And I love that. We're starting with K-Pals. We're going to do it again this year. You're going to have a little kindergartner who is watching you everywhere that you go. As a person and as a class, what do you want that to look like? I've seen really strong senior classes that come through and make a strong, outstanding mark. And I've watched senior classes flounder. And it impacts everybody in the school. It really does. Particularly the rhetoric school. So I want you to take just a little bit of time in the next couple of days while you're doing some of these things together. What do you want your senior year to look like? Because you guys are really the only one that can control it. Your mom and dad at home, they can say things to encourage you, they can coach you. I can stand up here and coach you. Mr. Christian can stand up here and coach you, but at the end of the day, really, you guys are the ones that have to decide what this year is going to look like. Are you going to be unified? Are you going to make lemonade out of lemons? Are you going to be joyful? Are you going to celebrate each other's unique gifts and talents? Or are you going to be divided? And I am praying, and I have been praying for a long time for this group, because there is, you guys have an amazing group of personalities, and I think that you guys can rock it this year. Okay? So I want you to think about that. So you write this chapter, control what you can control. Soph is going to kill me for saying that, because I say that to her all the time. You're going to have ups and downs this year, right? There are going to be things that go your way. There are going to be disappointments. There are going to be things that you wish happened. There are going to be things that go exactly better than you imagined. What can you control in all of that? And that's what you need to think about. You can control how you work together, your attitude, right? The lens that you decide to look through things, and how coachable you are on all of this stuff. Your mom and dad and me and the administrators here and your teachers want to coach you through this year. We don't expect that you are experts at life yet. In fact, senior year is kind of like your practice first year of college in a sense, and that's what I'm going to encourage your parents to look at it through that lens. We are launching you to a place where we won't be next year. And you're going to have all kinds of responsibilities. You're going to have to, I think about the guys. When I sent Sam to college, I wasn't really sure if he was going to be able to get his laundry done, if I'm being honest. It was the little things like that I was worried about. I wasn't worried about him finding a good meal, because he was not having trouble with that. But the little things, like, does he even know? Does he even know? And this is kind of a year where we want to start practicing deadlines that come. You parents, gently remind them, but don't do it for them. Help them to start to be independent. That's where they're headed. Set yourself up for success. All right, seniors. The senioritis. Raise your hand if you've heard about senioritis. Did they warn you about it last year? Did you see it last year? No? Did you see it? Mr. Talbert saying senioritis is a legit thing. I teach AP Calculus. That's a senior class. So every year I get to see it. And it hits a class at a different time every year. I'm going to pray over y'all that it does not hit till April. Right? Because that's when thesis is turned in. And then the presentation, I know you'll suffer with that, but it's coming. And you're going to have to fight against it. Okay? This is kind of like your first adult decision where it's mind over what you're feeling. You're going to think to yourself all kinds of things like, I already got into college, it doesn't matter. I'm tired of doing this. It's my senior year. I remember thinking to myself one time right before exams, and this is a terrible thought, but I remember thinking, well, if I don't know it by now, I'm never going to know it. So I didn't study. That did not go well. Just remind yourself that what you do in these moments, when, maybe you did get into college, maybe you got a scholarship somewhere and you know where you're headed, and it really doesn't matter what you get on that math test. That's right. How do you approach studying for that? How do you approach doing that? Well, that actually defines who you are, what your character looks like. How do you do the things when nobody's looking, when they don't matter? Well, the Bible's pretty clear. It tells us that we're supposed to be doing them for the Lord. Everything we do for the Lord. And so it's a training process, it's a discipline process. There are definitely days where I have to remind myself of that still at this age. So I encourage you to fight against that senioritis. It's coming, you're gonna feel it. I don't want to put shame on you, but it's coming. Fight against it. That's my message. Fight against it. Your teachers are gonna preach this too, okay? Next thing I wanna tell you guys. This is so important. Your identity is not, hear me, your identity is not in the college admissions process. Where you get in, where you don't get in, where you apply and where you don't apply is not who you are. That is the hardest thing for seniors to hear. Because I know you've worked very hard, and I know that you have a perfect plan in your head. You know what it's going to look like. I can tell you right now, I have walked it twice because Soph's doing the sports thing, so we've been doing the recruiting process, which is college admissions. It is not who you are. Mr. Kristen told your kids, and he'll speak to this again. I mean, you could be the perfect candidate. You could be every single thing a college wants, and depending on who's reading that application on any given day, and they're human, on any given day, maybe you don't get in. Maybe you do get in. This is where, and this is so hard, this is the hardest lesson I had to learn through this process too, is do you trust that the Lord is good and has a good plan over your life? So I encourage you, and you're going to hear me say this to you all year, your identity is not in where you apply to college, where you get into college, where you go to college. Your identity is in Christ, okay? That's easier said than received, I think. How many of you have been here since kindergarten? You've been here since kindergarten. So this is it. You've watched all the things, right? You've stood on the sidewalk for Italy. How many years now? And now you've made your way up to this end of it. This end, you're going to be on the bus this year, right? I just want to go back and encourage you again that this year at Caldwell is going to be what you make it. And I encourage you to embrace it. I think at a small school, it can be easy to feel like you know your peers. You've been with them for a long time, right? But look at it with fresh eyes. One of the things that Sam Plasman said to me after he graduated was, man, I wish I had gotten to know so-and-so better before senior year. I really never really knew. Lauren Phillips is a good example. He and Lauren Phillips went to school, kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And they were not friends until senior year. They had a couple classes together, and they started talking at the beginning of the year. Next thing you know, they're friends. They're hanging out, and he thought, gosh, why did I wait so long? So I want you to know there are new relationships even within your grade to be had this year. Be open to that. Embrace that. Start to really get to know. These are the people you've walked your journey with. This is where your final chapter here at Caldwell. Look around you. I'm going to emphasize this at the retreat. Try to pursue a new relationship. Get to know somebody else. They have special giftings. They have special things to offer that you may not have appreciated, but as you have grown and matured, that you might appreciate now. So try to embrace that a little bit, okay? And then the last thing I want to tell you guys is be sensitive to your parents this year, because this is a hard year for them too. You're going to be all over the board emotionally. You're going to have high highs. The high of getting into the college, the low of not getting into that college. The high of winning your last senior game, the low of something that you really wanted to do getting canceled. You're going to have all of that. And you need a safe place to vent, and your family is that, and it should be that. But I also want you to remember, guys, that this is an emotional year for your parents too. Okay? So, when your mom is standing at an event and you see like her eyes getting a little misty, don't make fun of her. Just go over, and all you gotta do is just kind of put your arm around her, just for a second. You don't even need to make a big production about it. Just kind of put your arm on her shoulder, give her a little squeeze, and then go back to doing what you were doing. I cannot tell you what that will mean to her. It will mean a lot. When your dad's running to the hardware store to pick something up, that's a big stereotype right there. Your mom's running to the, sorry about that. Get in the car and go with him. When you're running out to Cookout to pick up a burger because you didn't eat and it's 10 o'clock and you're hungry because you're a teenager, take your brother. Partly, take your brother. You know why? Because it's going to be gone in the blink. And that chapter is over. So, remember that they're going to be sentimental, and you're going to want to roll your eyes, restrain yourself. They're going to get on you about the deadlines, not because they hate you, but because they love you. And when you have your highs, they're going to celebrate with you. And when you have your lows, they're going to be wrecked on the inside. Because you are part of their heart, walking outside of their body. So remember that. Okay? They're for you. They're here to help you get through this year. But they also are human, and they're feeling all of the feels too. Okay? All right, parents. I gotta pull myself together here. Be the steady thing in your kid's life this year. Like I just told you, their emotions are going to be crazy. For those of you that have walked this, you know I'm not telling you anything new. But their emotions are going to be all over the place. And in the same day, it could be the best day and the worst day of their entire life. You need to be their steady. Schedule time to talk about college. It's just like, I don't know if y'all had this rule when you were planning your wedding, but we had times where we were allowed to talk. We had wedding-free zones at our house. Barrett would be in town for the weekend, and I would say, no, we're not talking about the wedding today. So I think it's very good to set a time, whether it's weekly or every other week, to talk to your kids about what's going on with the admissions process, but not every single day. Because if that's what you're doing, then in their mind, that's what their identity becomes, right? Which is what we're trying to tell them not to do. Be intentional to ask questions rather than providing all the answers. Get them to think through it. They're getting ready to launch and have to start making their decisions. And really, at the end of the day, what do we desire as parents, as a role, our role in their lives in the future is we want them to come and ask us questions. We want them to seek our advice. So start that process now. Think about this, the end game, not just the name of the college, the t-shirt that you're going to put on. Is it prestigious? Does it carry a lot of impact? Does everybody know? Like, what's the best fit for your child? Where do they belong? Is it a big school? Is it a small school? Is it far away? Is it close? What do they want to study? Is this a school that's really good, for what they want to study? Is it a school? I went to Davidson College, which down here everybody knows, but in Pennsylvania nobody knew where Davidson was. This is before Steph Curry. Let me go on the record a second. But nobody knew what Davidson was, and everybody kept saying, "You're going to Denison? You're going to Dickinson?" I'm like, no, I'm going. Nobody knew where I was going to college, and I remember. My parents were like, who cares? Right? Like, this is the right fit for you. It has all the things that you need. So remember that as you're helping your children choose the right colleges to apply to. Redirect negativity. They're going to be like, I hate thesis. Calculus is the worst. Like, this is the hard. There's too much to do. Like, help redirect them. Give them a different lens to look at things through. Don't feed the negativity. They need to learn to bounce out of that. And this is the year to kind of help them with that and model that for them. Just remember that their emotions are very uncertain and meet them in that place. So don't allow them to feel those things, but help them to process them in a healthy way. And remember this: the way you respond to their highs and lows impacts them. And I remember I blew it with Sam when he got his first. He got a wait list. And I remember being like, I can't believe, blah, 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 you're a perfect candidate for this. And then I thought, what did I just tell him? What I just told him was he wasn't, his identity was in that. It doesn't matter, I didn't process that right. So remember that how you process it, and man, you're gonna have to lean into the Lord for that. Because it is so easy to get caught up in the emotions of, because we know our kids the best, right? So we know what we think is perfect for them. So I just encourage you to be the steady. I'm way over, so I'm going to stop talking quickly. I just want to say this. Don't blink. Make the most of every minute. Embrace it. We will be standing at graduation like this. All right? So, all right, I'm going to introduce you to the thesis process. I'm not going to introduce the thesis process. I'm going to introduce Dr. Talbert, and he is going to come and introduce you to the thesis process. So, Dr. Talbert, take it away.
I didn't say stop. are you? You didn't forget. I've been reminded of a few things. One, I've got my kindergarten son. He's just starting this year here with me. But he's not paying attention. And as I watch him draw pictures of me flying through the mountains because I'm farting so much, I realized there's not that big a difference between a kindergarten boy and a senior. Except that you have to do senior thesis. So I'm here to talk to you about it for a few reasons today. One, I've been teaching thesis for a few years in classical education, both here and other classical school. Two, because I had the pleasure of working with your students and with you all. I'm going to miss you because this year I don't get to teach you. Basically, the only time I'll be seeing you is when I'm confiscating your phones, Parker, checking the stocks in the locker, whatever it was you were doing. So, thirdly, this is the capstone project of classical education. And it seems like we should be talking about that. It's not easy, an easy process, as you'll all remember from last year. Junior thesis was not necessarily easy, especially when you get feedback from someone that says, so what? So trying to explain and work through those sorts of things. But people who have come back say it is especially worth it when you're in a degree program where a thesis is required, because you're already set up for those sorts of things. I even met a parent of an engineering student, right? They knew from 2 years old he was going to be an engineer, and he went through the classical education process. At his bachelor's degree, he was already publishing because he knew how to articulate himself. Then his cohort would nominate him to speak at conferences because they didn't know how to talk, and so on behalf of his fellow nerds, he went up and he spoke for them. I think I can use, in classical education, we're all sort of collectively nerds. I think it's okay if we use that. It's not pejorative, it's a good word. So, what is the repeated advice of these graduates to seniors? And I've taken this from Leslie Liebman. It is follow the process. Okay, stay on track with the schedule, and ask questions of your teachers if you find yourself floundering. If you follow the process, though, and if you keep to the deadlines, this is going to be an easier process than you think. We've been doing senior thesis here since 2006 at Caldwell, and we've been making changes over the years to try and to improve the process based on feedback from students and from parents and from just us as teachers looking at and wanting what's best for you all as seniors. And so I'm going to bring you up to speed with some of the expectations for this year. So first, you students, you already have an advantage over previous classes, for the most part, because you have already submitted a topic. I know that was rough last year, and that there were objections about why are we doing senior thesis stuff, junior thesis year. Just trust us, please. It was worth it. And I think you'll see that as it unfolds this year, you're already a step ahead. You're already diving into thesis as the year begins. And so, despite those objections, I'm pleased with where seniors are starting this year. You've even got your first assignment set up that Mrs. Maple will talk about due dates for that we designed to help you kickstart the year, just an annotated bibliography for the source. Taking over for senior thesis this year is Mrs. Bailey Maple. She has been working, she started with us last year, did thesis lab. She worked with UNCG in the writing lab and has a lot of experience in academic writing, so she's going to be the main go-to for you all. Let's see, grades on this. It's going to be the same as last year. It's going to focus on the pieces as they're submitted, ultimately with the major points being in things like final draft and the oral presentation, which will be at the end of the year. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. Content specialists. These are your helpers. This is the trickiest part of thesis because it's someone that we have no control over. I can call them and I can yell at them, but I don't think that really helps. So we have talked about the possibility of remote, of having them be present remote, and that may help in this process. especially since we did so much remote stuff last year. But they're required to attend thesis. They're designed to sort of be your support in that process, but also that person who you have trusted along the way to help you craft your topic in a certain way. Okay. Due dates. I'm going to leave that with Mrs. Maple. She's not going to get up here and talk about all the due dates, but that'll just sort of unfold in class the way it should. Your first thing is do the annotated bibliography that hopefully you probably didn't work on this summer. But next week, as you're staying up late for the last, no, not the last time, but as you're staying up late to finish this assignment for her. The second due date, though, is really important as well. This is about students choosing whether they want to pursue one of two tracks for senior thesis. You have the option of pursuing honors or non-honors, and the difference between that, it will be, let's see, it will entail a certain weighting of the final grade. It will entail, for an honors track, 15 to 20 page paper, and then 15 to 18 minute oral with 20 minutes, up to 20 minutes of questions from your panel. For a non-honors track, it will be 12 to 15 page paper, 12 to 15 page paper, 10 to 14 minute oral presentation, and no more than 15 minutes of questions from your panel. Oh, and there'll be more sources relative to those. So 10 academic sources for honors, 7 academic sources for non-honors. Once you make the decision, first of all, do it very prayerfully, and think about what are you going to do with this. You have a whole academic year to work on it. Okay. Once you make the decision, honors or non-honors, you are locked into that decision. You may find that we've had students in the past, the end of the year, they chose non-honors, they've written 18 pages, they have more material, and they want to switch. We can't do that at the end of the year. Okay? So, honors, non-honors, make that decision. I think first week of September, second week of September, something like that, is when that decision's due to Mrs. Maple. Plagiarism software that we started that last year. We used this software called Turnitin.com. That's helpful for you and for us. It helps you, this is where most of your materials will be submitted or through Blackbaud. Final draft material especially will come through Turnitin.com. And we're still working on some tweaks here and there with that, but mostly it helps you see, have I done a good job putting this in my own words, or have I just copied and pasted from the internet? So you'll be ahead of the game, especially should you choose to go to higher education. You'll be way ahead of your colleagues who have not had that sort of training. Lastly, I am looking forward to working with you as a committee. So if there's any other questions that come to us about thesis generally, it'll be the committee that makes decisions and talks with you all about that. But I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Maple to talk with you about schedule and things for the rest of the academic year.
I started here last year, so I'm new to most of y'all because you were the only grade I didn't get to teach. So I'm really excited to get to work with you this year on thesis. Really, the main thing I want to explain today is one, class will be very similar to how you work on your junior thesis, where there will be some instruction, but a lot of class time will be spent with you working on research and putting your thesis components together. But you are going to need to still do a good amount of work probably outside of class. And learn to manage your time well, because it is a large composition, and thesis does not meet every day like your other classes will. So online you will be seeing a schedule that will look kind of like this. It will be color-coded with gold weeks and blue weeks. Blue weeks will be when thesis meets Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you will split the other 2 days with worldviews. So worldviews is another class you can take as a senior with Mr. Roberts. So blue weeks, thesis will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and worldview will be Tuesday, Thursday. On a gold week, it will be swapped. So you will have worldview Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and thesis Tuesday, Thursday. It kind of sounds confusing. Hopefully this chart will help us stay on track. So this will be online. It'll be posted. We'll have colors outside our doors to help us stay on track. This calendar also has all of the thesis due dates on it as I know them so far. Your first one is that summer assignment, that annotated bibliography. So if you haven't done that, that's due on the 30th. So definitely get on that. And so that way also you can just kind of plan your year, see when big assignments are due. Your final is due before you go to Italy. So we're trying to get that out of the way so you guys can enjoy your trip, enjoy your spring break, and then prepare for your oral presentation when you return. So we are going to be moving quickly, but I have heard great things from Dr. Calvert, so I believe all of y'all will be able to handle it and do a great job. So if you have any questions, I'm definitely happy to answer them going forward. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kristen to talk about the English classes.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm not putting a jacket on because I'm cold. I'm actually really sweaty. I'm trying to cover up my shame. I'm driving from High Point this morning, and I hope your kids didn't tell you how I was sweaty at boot camp as well. But I'm so glad to be here. It's such a blessing to join this community. I'm so excited. It's awesome how great the grace of God is to be able to be here in this opportunity. I guess you probably read my background. I have a background in higher education for 15 years. Actually, one of my former colleagues, Dr. Hedman there, also worked at High Point, but was there for 15 years, did photography for a while. God moved my heart to switch over into college admissions. What kind of prompted that was being a youth pastor for about 8 years. Never thought I'd be a youth pastor either, but when you pledge to be a vessel for God, He will use you if you let Him. If you live in God's will, He'll use you. He'll put you where you're supposed to be, and that may not be where you thought you would be when you started. But then I kind of moved into academic advising for a little bit, and so I could start my master's, which I'll be finishing at Liberty this fall. But so excited to be here. I got to meet with all of our seniors the past couple days, or most of them. Everyone that couldn't come kind of reached out and said why or what they had going on. But you have to be so blessed, or know how blessed you are to have a student in Caldwell. This is an amazing community. I mean, I've only been here just a month and something, but I just feel so blessed to be a part of this. What great students. I was wowed after 2 days with them, because I've worked with thousands of students and families over the years, and you have some great students. I'm really excited to work with them, and they're attentive. They ask questions. They weren't bashful about talking, which for teenagers is, man, that is just the hardest thing for them. But a little bit about what we did at boot camp. The first session in the morning, I tried to crank as much stuff as I could into an hour and a half as I could about everything I can think of that would be helpful. And I thought, man, this isn't too much for them. I'm just throwing a lot on them. We started off with just tell me about your journey at Caldwell. How long have you been here? What's it been like? What are you involved in? And also tell me on the back end of that, what do you want to do? And I got all different answers. No clue, big school, little school, I don't care, just the right fit. Lots of great different majors that they had in mind. They were not bashful about sharing what they wanted to accomplish. I learned a lot about them. But that morning session, I tried to just talk about, the college admissions process. It is getting more and more complicated. I mean, that's obviously where I've been studying every day for a number of years. It's really complicated, and the goal shifts all the time. It's more competitive, and there's more applicants. But at the end of the day, we can figure it out, and that's why I'm here. There's nothing cryptic. There's no special magic dust you have to have. It's just planning, and that's why I'm here. I want to make sure that I meet with your students as much as they'll let me. So, as I told them, this is a partnership. I made them say it with me, let's say the word partnership, because as much as I want to help, if I don't ever get to talk to you again, I'm not going to be able to write the best council recommendation letter for you. I want to make sure I'm reading your essays. I want to make sure that you're doing everything, because it's just little adjustments, and now's the time to start doing that. The seniors, because it's easy. Every school's going to have different deadlines and different ways of doing scholarship, and you can't think that they're all the same. So, and we want to pick the right schools as well. So we talked about, let's not just do all read schools, because it's getting crazy what schools are doing. A lot of them are just trying to protect themselves financially, so they're, letting in finances might have something to do with it. Or, diversity is a big thing. Schools are under pressure to make sure that they have, the most global community they can come up with in their class. And there's a lot of things that are shifting in education. Like I said, there is a lot more, applicants out there. But I also asked them after we got started, what are some of your fears or anxieties? Like, what is something that I can help with right now? Because you're like, who's this sweaty guy in front of me wearing a tie? Do you really know what he's talking about? Hopefully they didn't tell you that I didn't. That would be bad. But no, and they jumped at that chance. It was just like, do I need to retest SAT? how do I know when to do test optional or not? You know, test optional is something that colleges throw out there to say they're trying to help, and they are, because some students have been disadvantaged and they haven't been able to take it. But that doesn't mean it's not important. So if you have some, you know, aptitude to testing and you're kind of on the cusp of like what you would consider like, let's test again. Come see me, we'll talk about whether that's a good endeavor or not. And it's okay if you're not great at test taking. That is the great reason why test optional is out there. Like, it's not going to show who you are as a student. It's okay. Like, colleges know that not everyone's had the opportunity to test a lot, but plus they understand GPA is more important. That's just something that can help you, because there's going to be a lot of students that don't have that. So if it's something that can help us, let's do that. The other big question I got was, what is that essay? What the world are you writing about? It doesn't matter. It's just a way for you to grab that, whoever's reading it, your admissions counselor, that committee, you want to grab their attention. That first one has to be a question or a phrase or something that's going to be like, whoa, what's this going to be about? I want to read the next line. I told them, and I'll tell you a quick little story, the best one that, I mean, after years of reading thousands of applications, the best one I ever read was about bacon. Because I remember my essay will be about bacon. I'm like, well, why would you choose bacon? But it intrigued me to be like, okay, well, how are you going to talk about bacon to get into college? And it was basically, it was the sweetest story. Like, it started off kind of like, are we sure we're writing about this? And then it was, you know, it's like, well, you know, I come from a Jewish family and we're kosher in the home. So, you know, we have dietary restrictions. But when we go on vacation, we're able to lift those dietary restrictions and kind of eat what we want to when we're on vacation. So they talk about being in Hawaii at 13 years old, and they're at the hotel buffet, and they walk up to the table and they get some eggs and they get some toast, and you know, let's spread squiggly things. We'll put a couple of those on there. And they just talked about, and I'm starting to kind of see where it's going.
Oh gosh.
I'm so sorry.
I told Sam to call me.
It's on video. Please forgive me.
No, that's fine. But anyway, but it really happened. I started thinking because it was like, I took a bite of this red squiggly thing. It was like, whoa, like the skies opened up. And it was like, wow, I made it 13 years of my life and never had bacon before. So I started finding bacon t-shirts. I wanted to try bacon ice cream. Like, bacon, bacon, bacon. And I'm kind of giggling, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. And then it ended with, they brought it home with, at the age of 13, I was so hopeful for all the things I haven't discovered yet. It made me so hopeful for my future at High Point University. And they even mentioned High Point in the essay, which is like, yes, but don't do that for the wrong school. You know what I mean? So like, it can be that. There was a few years back, someone got into Yale or Harvard with one about pizza. I mean, it's just, it doesn't have to, you don't have to talk about something earth-shattering. It just show who you are, show your personality. You're the expert on you, you know. Take advantage of that. Just show them who you are. Be different without shock value. I've seen some of those too. But you know, we just talked about little secrets of, you know, well, start your essay now. Let me read it. Have several people read it. The big thing I want them to do, and I hope you can help me with this too, is I want a resume. You know, hopefully everyone should have a resume. You're going to need a scholarship, internships, everything. If you got one, update it. And if you're not sure how to do that, come see me, we'll work on that. But like, I really want to start off with a resume so I can start getting to know the students, because I want to write a killer recommendation for you. You know, I'm not trying to tear you, I want to make it all positive. I want to write a great recommendation. The more I know about you, the more I can kind of weave that story of who you are. Because your letters of rec are, it's really, you need to choose the right teachers that are going to take the time to advocate for you, because it's one of those things where it can really, they can rag on you in a way. If you rag on yourself in your essay, it's going to come on kind of weird. But if someone else does it, you can really learn a lot about a student. And then there's little tips. You know, everything I can think about from being on the admission side of how much demonstrated interest. I mean, over the years working with college counselors in the role that I'm in now, so many of them don't understand how important that is. No, it's hard during COVID to visit, and depending on what their policies are, you can still do a virtual visit. But you want to visit as much, you know, if you really want to get into school, you have to visit. Because they're trying to, you know, they're looking at the perspective of the university of, you know, we've got enrollment goals, we've only got 7 admits to give out, so if I'm going to give one, I need to know it from a student that I think has a pretty good shot at actually enrolling in our university. So, the way to show that you're serious about that school, go do a visit, and that doesn't mean drive to campus, they don't know that you did that. And even if you tell your counselor that, they're not going to know. So try to get a campus visit, a tour where they're going to log it, because it's going to show up on your application. And like I said, if you can't get there, if you're trying to go to somewhere in California, it's not going to work to get there, you know, reach out to your counselor, show interest that way. That's what I told everybody. Everyone needs to send an email introducing themselves to whoever their counselor is. If they can't find out who it is, come to me, we'll find out together who your counselor is. When I read applications, I would remember a student. Oh man, I read it to them at their high school, that college fair, they came and toured that time. They email me every couple weeks or so. You don't want to overdo it, but just little tips like that. Because as we talked about in the afternoon session was really cool. And I know it was asking a lot of them to be an admissions committee and to read all those common applications and to try to process all the information in a short amount of time. We only had an hour and a half. They did a great job, and they jumped right into it. Did a really good job of trying to make the best call you're deciding someone's life. So, and that was the point. Yeah, guys were, the candidates, the first day, there was one guy that was the villain. No one wanted to admit him. The second day, he was the guy that everybody wanted. And that's what I wanted to show. Like, each student has different aptitudes and different things that make them unique, and some negatives that depend, like I said, admissions counselors, and we talked about how they do it too. Some big schools, they're going to do committee reads. And if you got to go through 30,000 applications, you can't do the most holistic review. So a lot of them will do committee reads. Unfortunately, some schools might use software that computes who they think they should. That's very impersonal, not the way to do it. But most of your private schools and schools that are really trying to get the right freshman class, they're really going to do a holistic review, and they're human, just like Kristen said, they're human. So just like you guys pick someone different every day, that could happen. It could be the wrong group that you're grouped with. It could be the wrong day, or that person just this reading application, man, they got a haircut, they got little hairs on the neck, and they're not having a good day. They don't like it. Hopefully that's not going to be the case. But what we started with was, no matter what happens, God has a plan. I brought up Jeremiah 29:11, which is God has a plan for us. He wants us to prosper. He wants us to have a future. He wants us to have hope. Now that doesn't mean that our plan for our life is going to be exactly what God has in mind. To use us, He might have to take us on different paths, but just know that as Christians, we will have a victorious life. Like, we serve a mighty God, and as long as we trust Him, that's what, do you trust God? You have to do this process, but it's all going to be fine. Like, it's all going to work out. Please use me as a resource. That's what I told them. I can't help you. Don't see me. It's a partnership. Parents, the same thing. If I can clear up something, my big focus as a youth pastor was just, besides biblical lessons, was confidence. It's tough being a teenager. In the early 90s, I felt like it was a lot easier. There wasn't social media and all this crazy stuff. Kids, it's hard to be a teenager. And I know how good our kids are here at Caldwell. They work so hard and they're trying to be that perfect applicant. But just remember, you're so blessed and you're going to have a great future, and it might go exactly as we envisioned. But it's a different path. Like we talked about getting waitlisted. That's not a deny. We can still work with that. But anyway, I think the last 2 days were really, hopefully, impactful for them, and I look forward to this year. That's the first thing I want. I want a resume. I want to start meeting with your students. I want them to come see me. I'd love to see them at least 3 times by the time we're hitting send on our college applications. I've already told them, email me, come see me, let's set something up. I'll always make time when I can. We're definitely going to meet. I want to be able to advocate for you. So that's the other thing I got to do. And that's what I want you guys to do. Caldwell's a great school. But when you go to these colleges, you represent more than just yourself. You represent your family. You represent Caldwell. You represent a Christian. So that's a lot of responsibility. So I also want to make sure that we're prepared. If you're going to a school to do an interview or you're going to do a tour, come see me beforehand. We'll talk about, and I hope to do some mock interviews this year as well to prepare for that, and scholarship interviews and things like that. But you got to be prepared. You want to dress appropriately, hopefully not be sweaty like me. And we want to definitely make sure that we're putting our best foot forward. And that's all this is. It's just planning. The college admission process is like juggling. If you focus on one ball too much, you're going to try all these other ones that are very important too. So it's just planning, and that's what I'm here to do. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. We're applying at the right time, we're doing the right plan, we're doing the right schools. And getting in is just half the battle. That's the other part. It feels good to kind of get that out of the way, but the next part is like, boy, how am I going to pay for this, right? So that's the other thing I want to be able to help with is just be patient. If you know that you're going to the school and you're applying ED and that's what you want, you can afford it, then that's the dream. That's amazing. But if it turns out to where you're not sure, and you got these 5 different schools, just wait. Don't jump the gun. Because I know when April comes around, you're just like, man, I'm done with this college. Just pick something. Because I'm done. I'm tired of thinking about it. I'm tired of not sleeping. Be patient. Get all of your offer letters out. Look at all the finances. Let's make sure that we haven't forgotten anything about a scholarship we forgot about. But that's where outside scholarship starts now. We definitely want to be gunning for that now. We want to make sure that we understand each school's merit system for scholarship. We definitely want to fill out FAFSA starting October 1st to see if there's any aid that can come there. But anyway, I promised her I would not go too long, and I probably already have. But anyway, I am so blessed to be here. I can't wait to get to know everyone. Please come see me. Please use me as a resource. But I'll be praying for everybody every day. I mean, praying for the senior class. It's going to be a great year, a successful year, and I look forward to connecting with everybody soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Chad. I'm excited about the team that we have for our seniors this year. I want to get to I know you guys are excited to hear about Italy. I want to talk to you about that. We did push it to the spring. Last spring, I took a poll and surveyed the students, asked them whether they would like to go to Plan B for the fall and take a fall trip, or if they'd like to push it to the spring in hopes that we would still be able to get to Italy, and it was the majority was that we pushed it to the spring. I am cautiously optimistic that we are going to be able to go. So we did push it to the spring. I did have some creative Plan B ideas from the senior class about things we could do in the event that we end up not being able to go to Italy. Jackson, we are not going to Las Vegas. Your mom. Okay. So, obviously the Italy trip is the bonding. I've had the privilege of going one time. It's a huge bonding trip. I really am praying that you guys will have the opportunity to do that. I am cautiously optimistic about it. It is the week before spring break, so we go Thursday to Thursday. That Friday is a half of the day, and then it's spring break. I know that for teachers that's not ideal. As an AP teacher, I'm thinking, oh, good grief. But we will make it work. We did it with the seniors this year. They didn't get to go to Italy, but they did have a week off before spring break, and it worked out just fine. So that is the plan. It's the end of March into the 7th of April. The tickets have been reserved. I applaud you guys. You did an excellent job of getting me, or maybe I should applaud the parents. I got your legal passport names, and I got the date of birth and everything I needed very quickly. Mr. Schilling warned me that it might not work very well, and 49 of you, and I got all of it very fast. So thank you for getting that done, and we are working on getting those reserved. Your chaperones will be Ms. Liebman and Mr. Schilling, since they are the ones that helped transition the trip to in-house, which I'll tell you a little bit about in just a second. I'm going to go on the trip. Dr. Talbert is going on the trip. So you have Ms. Gilbert defined it as a dream team. So I do think you have a good group of chaperones going, people who know and are going to be able to make the most of it for you. Okay, passports, parents and students, listen, I don't know where you are in the passport process. You have to have a passport that's valid for at least 6 months after your departure date. Right now, I got on the website last night to the .gov website. They are 18 weeks out, door to door, 18 weeks. Do the math, 18 divided by 4. We're looking at 4.5 months, so we are closing in on where you are going to be sweating it out if you do not get your application. So if you don't have a passport, you need to get on that right now. Okay, so go look at the date on the passport. When does it expire? Make sure it's going to be valid for 6 months after we get back on April 7th, and then if it's not, go ahead and start that process right now. Let's see. I gave you a letter. That letter does have a link in it, which obviously on paper doesn't have a link on it. It is going to be an Eagles call this weekend with the link. Please go in there. It's basically the permission form for us to move forward with planning. Of course, insurance is built into the trip this year because of the situation. It is part of the initial deposit. We are actually buying the best insurance you can get for this trip. It's just a little bit more than what we had for last year, but it is basically a foolproof insurance. So if we have to cancel, then I think all you lose is the premium for the insurance, which is about just a little bit over $200, I think. But for a $3,200 trip, I mean, the insurance that we used last year when we were talking to them about it this year, they were going to give you $3,000 worth of credit. It's like, we don't want that. We want our money back if we can't go. And so that is the plan, and that will be part of your initial deposit. If the billing plan for you does not work for your finances, please don't disqualify your student from the trip. Talk to Dina Toth. She can work with you to make it something that is manageable for your family, okay? Our flights, I'm super excited about this because we're actually flying out of Greensboro, praise the Lord. And our flights this year are from Greensboro to Florence,
And then we travel in Italy down to Rome, and then we fly from Rome back to Greensboro. So we don't have to do, the year I went, we flew into Rome, we had to get to Florence, and then, so I'm really excited about that flight that we were able to get, and leaving from Greensboro is huge. Parents, mark your calendars, that Thursday, we will do the bus trip down the sidewalk, Lord willing, and that's a really fun thing to be there for. The trip has moved to in-house. So last year we used Joshua Expeditions. I went on that trip, and what we were paying for wasn't part of it. I hate to say that because Daniel was the leader. He was very kind, but just we were paying too much for what we were getting. So we have been able to move the trip in-house. Lexi Newsom is a graduate of Caldwell. She's also she works in international business in the art world, and she knows Italy inside, outside, upside down. She has helped us plan the trip. She is going to be our guide, just like we would have gotten from Joshua Expeditions, only she's personal. We know her. She knows our Caldwell community. She knows Miss Liebman. And me, I'm excited to have her on the trip. So she's going to be our guide. So we basically hired her to be our personal tour guide. So if you have questions about that, I'm happy to answer those. But this is the first year that we're doing that. We're going to fly in, spend a couple days in Florence. Eric told me to say it right, Cinque Terre. We're going to Cinque Terre and Pisa, and then we're going to go down to Rome and spend a couple days there, and then we're going to head back home. So right now, in order to get into Italy, you have to either have proof that you've already had COVID, that you've recovered from COVID, you have to be fully vaccinated, or you have to have a negative PCR test within 48 hours of arrival. So that is the current situation to get in. We are monitoring that. I am praying, join me in praying that it does not become a vaccination or no vaccination situation, and if it does, we are going to make a determination about whether, as a school, we're going to move forward with that trip. And so just that's where it is right now. You either have to show proof of recovery, you have to show a proof of vaccination, or you have to have a PCR test without having to work. Yes?
Do you have any updates on return? Like, should it have to be tested within 48 hours?
That's a good question. I don't. And if, I know that we were talking about it in the spring, and that was going to be you did not have to be tested to return. I don't know what it is right now, but we'll monitor that. If that's the case, then we will obviously arrange a group testing. All right. Okay. Let's see. Any questions on Italy? Guys, do you have any questions on Italy? No. Just pray. Pray that we can go. All right. And last thing, senior cheat sheet. I'm going to get it done. I have 2 minutes. First day of school prayer, 7:15. I know 7:15 is going to be, I know, I just saw so, it's going to be early for some of you who have not done 7:15 for a long time. It is a sweet time of prayer. The faculty prays over the seniors to launch the year. It's in the pavilion. Please be there. I know that you guys are probably going to do some kind of t-shirt or Hawaiian shirt and greet the students. You will have plenty of time to do that because the teachers have to get out for carpool too. So 7:15 on Wednesday, K-PAL kickoff. So excited that program is coming back this year. It's a sweet time to make and connect with the kindergartner with long-term impacts. I've seen so many K-PAL senior buddies that endure the test of time. And so that's on September, probably 1st. It's like, I think it's September 1st, that Wednesday. It's during their assembly, so you'll have to get here a little bit early that day, and they're going to do a little program in the gym. So we'll keep you posted on that. Senior lunches, Kelly and Robin, thank you guys for being willing to coordinate that. We are, Mrs. Kupiak and Mrs. Eatman are going to coordinate your senior lunches so that you guys can have that tradition. They're going to talk between Wednesday and Thursday because it sometimes impacts the class that you miss afterwards, so we're trying to redistribute for the classes that you're going to miss. So you'll be getting information from them, and if you're willing to help Kelly and Robin with contributions to that, you can reach out to them. I know that they would love that. Senior privilege to leave campus for lunch, you're allowed to do that. There was a form in that letter I sent out. If you did not fill it out, I need you to fill it out. I need your parents to give us just kind of like standing permission for you to come and go on campus during lunch, except for Fridays. Fridays we ask that you stay on campus. That is a time where we can have a senior meeting where we know that we can get you and everybody will be here. So Monday through Thursday, you may leave campus during lunch. You are responsible for being back in time for class. and just don't abuse that, okay? There's Chick-fil-A has sponsored Caldwell with their leadership program this year. It's kind of a pilot year for us, and so I've decided that I think the best way to kind of try it this year is with seniors. I'm going to ask the ELC to be involved in that. It's a 1 day a month commitment for I think it's 6 months. Mr. Miles is helping me run that, but they have a video lesson, and then you plan a service project for the end of the year. It would look great on your college applications. If you're interested in doing that, you're going to listen for announcements or connect with me or Coach Miles. But like I said, it's once a month, and it's the Chick-fil-A leadership program. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Have y'all seen the senior lounge?
No.
The senior lounge is ready for you. Y'all get to be the first seniors to use the senior lounge. It's a sweet space. There's a big, gigantic TV in there. I'm not really sure what's on the TV, like are we streaming sports or what? There's a ping pong table in there, and very excited. Mr. Clifford, our Dean of Students, he's going to help outline some of those expectations for the use of that space. But I'm very excited for you guys to have that available to you this year. I am praising God, and I ask you to join me in praising God that I hired a math teacher yesterday. Those of you, Mrs. Pryor is her name. She is very talented, graduate of Virginia Tech. She has a degree in chemical engineering, biochemistry, and chemistry. She's like brilliant, and she loves math. So she's also a math nerd with me. So I love her already. So thank you, Jesus, for that provision. And last thing I want to tell you, the retreat, because we did not get to go on that field trip in the fall, and you guys have not been on a field trip since Washington, D.C., right? Is that crazy? An overnight field trip since Washington, D.C. You've done the retreat. We moved the retreat to the fall. We are going to Carolina Point. It is in the mountains. It is a Young Life facility. There's a link to it in Eagles Call this week. Go check it out. It's an amazing facility. That is September 14, 15, 16. We will leave first thing in the morning. We will be back on Thursday in time for athletic events because the calendar was already set for that, and Coach Bo did the best he could to rearrange. So really, really looking forward to that, and I'm excited to have you guys have the opportunity to do a little bit of class bonding before the year kicks off completely. If you have not RSVP'd to Mr. Holland's head of school dinner, please do that today. Anything else I'm forgetting? All right, let me read the scripture and I will send you out. Seniors, just talk to you a minute about painting your parking spaces. Psalm 16, I will praise the Lord who counsels me. Even at night, my heart instructs me. I keep my eyes always on the Lord. With him at my right hand, I will not be shaken. Lord, I thank you for this class. They've got a big year ahead of them. Be with them, go before them, behind them, beside them. Lord, let them lean into you knowing that you are their strength, you are their shield, you are their portion, you are their all in all. You are everything they need. And God, by your grace and mercy, you love them and you are for them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, thank you so much for coming. If you have questions, reach out to me. Seniors, if you filled out your permission form and you got